Rotus, you've got the update from across the continent. Just let us know. How's it going? How are you, my friend? Rotus? Good?
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to the rest of the crew. Hope you guys can hear me clearly
from
we can hear the studio here in Abuja. So we begin, of course, with, as far as business news is concerned, in China, the inflationary figures coming in from China. So China now continues to remain in deflationary territory. So as you can see the figures here from the November CPI figures, 0.5% is where the inflation figures came in. They fell to, the forecast was from 0.1 to 0.2%. Your November PPI, that is your producer price inflation, negative 3%, falling as well. Your forecast was for 2.8. So China is in a deflationary spiral, which is going to make monetary policy a bit difficult for the government because consumers are going to continue to hold back, thinking that prices will continue to fall. So that's the challenge that we're seeing in the second largest economy in the world, in addition to the property issues that they've been facing. Still going on to TikTok now. TikTok, we got some news that TikTok is going to be investing about $1.5 billion in the GoTo Group. The GoTo Group is one of the biggest e-commerce firms in Indonesia. Now, the story here is this. Back in October, Indonesia banned participation in the e-commerce sector from foreign parties because they wanted to protect the local participants in there. I mean, this is a large economy, about 200 plus people, about 275 million or so. And as far as people who are participating in e-commerce transactions. So what TikTok has decided to do is to invest in GoTo, which is one of the biggest players in the e-commerce sector. So you're basically coming in domestically to get into the market. So it's another, if we're talking, it's Money Monday, all right? So big money there. So that's what happened over in TikTok. We keep moving on from there as far as the news is concerned to the United States. Now, on Friday, we got those numbers from the United States non-farm payrolls. 199,000 jobs was created. The forecast was for 180,000. October was 150. What does this mean? If your job numbers are coming in stronger than the forecast, well, it means that the Federal Reserve could likely still hold at its next meeting, which is coming up Tuesday and Wednesday, or could it hike? The market seems to have gotten ahead of itself, with many people forecasting that there is going to be we're going to start seeing cuts. Although at Spelman College, when the U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell spoke, he said, "Don't get ahead of yourselves. We'll have to still see what happened with inflation." I think we're getting the CPI numbers from the U.S. tomorrow, so we'll see how things go there. So that's what we're seeing in jobs. Still on the jobs front, in unemployment falling in the United States, 3.7%. The forecast was for 3.9. Your October number was 3.9%. So inflation, unemployment is coming down, and Joe Biden has been saying for a long time, he's got a crucial election next year, that unemployment has remained under 4%. So this is another number that the Federal Reserve is going to be looking at. And then if we look at the forecasts, the non-farm payroll forecast from a number of the banks, Wall Street, Goldman predicted 238,000, Wells Fargo 215. It was Bank of America and Morgan Stanley that came closest to the number. They forecast 200,000. Remember, the number was 199. You have Citigroup at 195, JP Morgan 150, Deutsche Bank at 130. So there were a lot of variations on Wall Street as to where that job number was going to fall. So now we go from there into the central bank meetings that we're going to be having this week. Very important, crucial meeting. So you've got the Federal Reserve meeting tomorrow and Wednesday. We're going to get that decision from Jerome Powell. Are they going to hike? Are they going to? I think they'll probably hold rates. You've got the ECB with Christine Lagarde on Thursday. In fact, the ECB and the Bank of England are going to be holding their meetings on Thursday. So crucial central bank meetings that are going to be taking place this particular week, and we'll see what the temperature is as far as how these central banks all see the inflationary movement and where their rates decisions could go. From there, we move to Javier Milei. He has, of course, been sworn into office. He is now in power. He says today, that's referring to yesterday when he gave his speech. By the way, he drove in on an old Volkswagen. He's really, really trying to show that he's not a spendthrift. He's not heavy on spending. Today, we're ending a long and sad history of decadence and decline, and we are beginning the journey to rebuilding our country. Here's a very interesting quote from a pensioner that was speaking to the Financial Times. I think her name is Layla. So if you put up our quotes, it's something very interesting in terms of the similarities with Argentina and Nigeria. So her name is Lilana Denesi. She's 67 years old. She's a pensioner. She said, it's exactly what Milei has always said, and it's the Milei we voted for. He gives me a lot of hope that our young people won't have to keep leaving the country because so many have gone. So the Japa syndrome that we keep talking about in Nigeria is happening over in Argentina as well. Young people are voting with their feet and they're leaving. So Milei, again, his party doesn't have that much in terms of representation in parliament. As far as dollarizing the economy, destroying, scrapping the central bank, we'll see how things work out for him there. He's going to face a lot of challenges. But again, he's sworn in. Milei he's in charge now. We'll see how things work out. Inflation is projected to reach 200% in Argentina. The peso is gone. So look, there's a lot of challenges for him. And everybody's going to be watching to see how well he does. From Argentina, I believe we're going to move to Ethiopia. Yes, Ethiopia could join, I think, Zambia and Ghana to default on their debts. There's a coupon payment of $33 million that's due. Here's what they said. This is from the Ministry of Finance to bondholders, their creditors. Ethiopia is not in a position to pay the $33 million coupon because of the nation's fragile external position, with significantly lower foreign exchange reserves, which inevitably impacts the Ministry of Finance ability to service imminent external borrowing. So they've got about a 14-day grace period to make this coupon payment on bonds to creditors. If they are not able to make this payment, Ethiopia will officially become the third African nation to default on its debt. Again, COVID problems, all these other things that have been affecting a lot of emerging markets, a stronger dollar. The dollar actually appreciated when those China CPI numbers came out. So emerging markets are really feeling the pinch. It's not just Nigeria, it's your Ethiopias, your Egypts, and everybody else. Speaking of Egypt, elections have begun. In Egypt, they started yesterday, Sunday, 3-day voting. So they will announce the results on December the 13th. President Sisi is expected to win re-election despite the economic crisis in Egypt. Arise News, of course, was in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, for the African Development Bank spring meetings. I witnessed what the currency has lost over half its value, right? Similar to Nigeria. Inflation at 35%. 3 currency devaluations since early 2022 in Egypt. We just had one in June right here in Nigeria. They've had 3, and they're still looking for money from the IMF. $3 billion assistance. They're trying to expand that to maybe $5 billion. Despite all that, Sisi is expected to win re-election. We'll see what happens when the results are announced, I think, on Wednesday. And then I think we'll round up with Nigeria. Moody's on Friday upgrading Nigeria's economic outlook from stable to positive. This is a very important point to make here, because when Moody's downgrades Nigeria, everybody gets in a flurry. So they've upgraded Nigeria's economic outlook. Why is that? They've upgraded it because of reforms, the reforms put in place by this administration. And it is important to note, reforms have a lag effect. Okay? So you cannot expect reforms to immediately turn things around. Let us watch Javier Milei and what he does in Argentina and how long it takes. Here's a quote from Moody's as to those reforms. Again, removing fuel subsidies, also the exchange rates in Nigeria on Tinubu administration. Moody says these policy changes and those potentially to come have raised the prospects of a fiscal and external improvement in the country's credit profile. So that's our updates as far as business around the world is concerned.
Right, Rotus, I understand that we don't have so much time to talk, but I'd love to talk about what happened over the weekend now that the official rate of the Naira has crossed the 1,000 threshold. In fact, the CBN has also increased the rate at which you import goods to about 952 Naira to the dollar. So there are many things to talk about. I welcome that from Moody, but it's still not Uhuru yet, as regards the